SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
I'll pre-record on my count. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Roll A, fade up on A.
Southern Miss to the top. You're tuned in to the Eagle Hour.
I just went up to bat and tried not to make the moment too big and trusted the approach that the coaches gave me, and I got the pitch that I wanted and was able to hit over the wall. So, just be grateful for that. And then obviously we had the momentum carry out through the rest of the game. They took the lead at one point, but we never feel like we're really out, and we kind of just kept going and pursuing, and we ended up with the W.
Did you know how far it went?
Somebody told me in the dugout, and I didn't believe them. But when you hit it, you just kind of like black out. Like, I didn't know how hard to hit it, whatever. I just knew it was enough to go over the wall. Fans, we kind of feed off of them. Coach Oz tells us to be entertainers, so trying to entertain the crowd as well, and then the energy they bring kind of, it uplifts us and then kind of messes with them. I had multiple guys while I was on base said, "This place is sick," just how much people care and how much they love the sport. So it's awesome, the crowd that we bring, and even when we don't play teams like that, the rivalry. Even when we play teams like, when we're going to play UNA this weekend, they're going to be a good ball club, but not many people know who they are. But they're still going to bring the crowd, and it's going to be awesome.
Mindset of the team right now has to be pretty good.
It is. We just kind of not trying to make any moment too big, just trying to keep on going. We know we're a really good team and we can compete with anybody, so we're just trying to play good enough to win ball games.
Dre Barrett leads the Golden Eagles to an exhilarating 7-6 win last night over 4th-ranked Mississippi State before 5,700 rowdy Southern Miss fans. Barrett with a 3-run home run, another double. Golden Eagles win an exhilarating contest, as we said. Travis Creel joins us every Wednesday, and Coach, put into words the atmosphere last night, everything that all of us witnessed at the Pete.
Electric would be the word. It was awesome and, kind of expected. Just that's what our fans do. And then, obviously, them being ranked so high and coming off a really good weekend in Arlington, huge game, probably the biggest midweek game we've had and probably the biggest one in the country. So it was electric for sure.
Well, before we get to the game, I do have a question that got on my mind last night. I've been anxious to ask you. As a coach, do you enjoy coaching a game like the one last night more, or one like Saturday when your team dominates from the opening pitch to the last pitch?
Well, when it's over, I'll take the one last night.
Great answer.
But as it's going on, that one Saturday was pretty fun, I got to admit.
Right.
And if Southern Miss would have lost last night, his answer might have flipped, obviously.
Yeah.
He liked
That's
Saturday's
right.
game.
Yeah.
But
Well, Travis, it was another heavyweight battle between two great college baseball teams. What do you take away from your guys more than anything else from that game last night?
It's kind of just what we've done all year is just the steadiness, right? We jump on them. We've played in games where we're down big, down early. Then last night we're up big, up early, and they come back and take the lead. And again, there's just no panic. This group's so calm. They're so confident, and it's not a cockiness. It's just okay. They took the lead. We're going to score. It's just a good feeling that there's just no panic, and it just kind of shows what kind of leadership we have and the kind of team we have. So super proud. That's a really good team we beat last night, and what a great game.
Travis, I think one of the biggest moments in the game that you could kind of see the contrast between what you're talking about and maybe Mississippi State. Obviously, they have a lot of transfers. They're trying to gel together still as a team early in the season. Urban hits that pop fly to shortstop. Higdon's on first, and he sprints the whole way. He never slows down and ends up scoring because the shortstop misjudged the ball. A couple innings later, Mississippi State was at bat. I can't remember which batter it was, but it looked like a home run off the bat. It kind of died in front of the wall. I think their batter thought it was a home run. He starts slow jogging around first, and you guys ended up throwing him out at second. Sometimes it's those little tiny things that decide magnitude games like the ones last night.
No, 100%. And, I actually I didn't see the guy get out of the box, but I heard it was pretty slow. But yeah, it kind of goes back to kind of our mantra: everything matters. We're going to do everything the right way. We're going to play the game the right way. And Coach Barry used to say all the time, they may drop the pop-up 1 out of 1,000 times, but that 1 out of 1,000, we need to be in the right spot. And credit to Hig for just playing the game the right way, and that turned out to be the game-winning run.
Can't really talk about this game without talking about this rowdy atmosphere last night, Travis. And, I was telling Demo before the game, where I sit, you really can't see down the first baseline. But when I got on the field last night to do the post-game stuff, you look down that first baseline, and it was a literal sea of gold. It's just quite impressive. And I saw this morning where the MSU coach said, you can't come to a great stadium like this and play a great team and get behind early. The atmosphere really helps propel this baseball team, doesn't it?
Sure, absolutely. Pete Taylor magic's real. But yeah, I mean, they opened the gates at 4 for a 6 o'clock game, and I bet there was, a really, really long line about 2 o'clock for people waiting to run in and then get their seats in the 16-ounce lounge. So, yeah, that was about as packed as it gets. I don't think you could fit many more bodies out there. So that was definitely a regional, super regional type atmosphere.
Travis, it was pretty cool to see Seth Smith get his first career homer last night. Obviously, a guy for you guys who has just really come along over the last couple of weeks, batting in the 400s. But to get a first solo homer was pretty cool. I mean, he said he was just praying it didn't go foul.
Yeah, I'm so proud of Seth and how far he's come, how much he's worked, and then obviously not even playing, the first almost 35 innings of the season, and just to stay patient and keep working. And it happens every year where Joey Urban didn't start until maybe the 4th game last year, or maybe 5th game, where you have depth. Sometimes that happens, but when you get in there, you got to make your moment count, and Seth's definitely done that so far.
I'll tell you, another kid's really stepped up, I believe, over the last couple of weeks is Dre Barrett. And he's a young player too, Travis, and man, he's got power. He plays third base. He's just a real deal, and has been since he got here, hasn't he?
Yeah, the ceiling for him is off the charts. I mean, he could play this game for a really, really long time. Dre kind of, and he'll admit this to you, sometimes he wants it so bad, and he does a little too much at times where, he swings that bat about 110% instead of 100. And when he tones it down and really trusts his approach, he's as good as anybody in our lineup.
Yeah. Bull struggling a little bit, but he did come up with a big single late in the game, which proved to be valuable. But what happens, Travis, with kids when they go in and out of slumps? Is there a tangible thing that you can, as a hitting coach, can put your finger on?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there is. Sometimes it's more mental. With Bull, and a lot of times when you start off a little slow, the mental side can change your physical side, right? Like you start doubting yourself a little bit. You start doubting some stuff. You start, we call it cheating to the heater, which makes you more susceptible to off-speed pitches and things like that. But, he's a very humble, confident kid. He works his tail off. He was up here swinging it about an hour and a half ago and looks great, and all the confidence in the world. And you're right. I mean, it's kind of awesome if you think about it, that the start we're off to with maybe not our 3-hole hitter going as good as he can.
Yeah. Well, tell you what kind of kid he is. After the game last night, he's got a rake, and he's out there raking the infield.
That's right. It's their job. They know it. Everything matters. So we do our job.
Travis, I mean, I think there's an argument to be made that we haven't seen everything possible from this lineup so far this season that they can accomplish, but you guys are still 11-1. I mean, how exciting, I guess, is that for you as the hitting coach?
Yeah, very exciting. And a lot of that, I mean, I'm not trying to put anybody on a pedestal, but I'd love to know if anybody faced better arms than us so far.
Right.
12 games in.
Sure.
So, I think this is going to pay dividends down the road of facing this kind of stuff. Mississippi State's pitching staff was electric. I mean, they're gonna be up there in almost every category, and obviously Santa Barbara, Oregon State, Alabama, you go on and on. But I do think it's going to pay dividends when we face, our tough conference opponents, to know that, hey, we've hit some good arms and we've had success, and it can boost us going forward.
Another game tonight, kind of a rare midweek Wednesday night. We're going to talk about the opponent tonight when we come back, Travis. But How do you get ready for 2 midweek games, first time in the year? Did you guys hold some pitchers back last night that maybe normally would have gotten a little time last night?
Yeah, I mean, Crabtree obviously getting the start tonight. He definitely could have pitched yesterday. We have a lot of confidence in him. You know, Sundstrom threw a lot on Sunday, but he was available last night, and we didn't have to throw him last night as well. So those two guys for sure. And then, you know, we have some capable arms who haven't thrown that much yet, too. So I'm sure you'll see a healthy amount of arms. You
still have about 38 freshman pitchers you can throw. Is that not right?
The clone army.
I think you almost seen them all, I think.
We'll be talking to Travis Creel on a Wednesday. Great game last night at Pete Taylor Park. We're so lucky to be able to access collegiate athletics like we saw last night. Going to continue our conversation with Coach Creel. Another game tonight, Nicholls State. We'll see what he says about them coming up. Stay with us.
Big news from Robinson Electric Supply in Laurel. We've moved. You'll now find us directly behind our old building, right by Sawmill Animal Hospital. We're still your trusted electrical distributor, carrying everything from conduit to tape. And don't forget our full line of Milwaukee tools. Whether you're a contractor or a DIY pro, stop by the new Robinson Electric Supply at 1222 West 6th Street and see what's lighting up Laurel. Robinson Electric Supply. New location, same trusted service.
Southern Miss to the top. To the top. You're tuned in to the Eagle Hour.
All right, today's show is always coming to you from the Southern Bancorp studio here in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Bob and Dima in the studio today. That first segment was sponsored by Dickey's Barbecue Pit. This segment by Eagle Tire West out on Highway 98 West. Goodyear Tires, full service for your truck or your car. Big Southern Miss guys out there. Family owned since 1985. Eagle Tire and Eagle Tire West. Really happy to have them part of the Eagle Hour, and hope that you'll do business with them because they do support Southern Miss baseball. Travis Creel's with us on the show every Wednesday. All right, Coach, as much as we'd like to talk about the game last night forever, there's another one tonight, and it's Nicholls State. What do you know about Nicholls State? And I guess the obvious question is, after an emotional night like last night and so much excitement in the air, your guys have got to, put that on the shelf and get ready to go here in about 5 hours.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, I think it's definitely human nature to kind of let your mind breathe a little bit, but that's not the case with this team. We feel confident that they're going to show up every day, and we trust them as an old group that knows that every game is very important in college baseball. And, if you look across the country at midweeks, especially, anybody can beat anybody, right? LSU's lost to two really small schools, right. And you can do that all over the country. So you got to show up ready to play. They're Division I baseball players. They're well coached. They've beat us the last 2 years. So, when you come out ready to play.
Yeah, they beat Tulane last night, too.
And McNeese is the team that LSU lost to a week or so ago, and this Nicholls team beat McNeese over the weekend, by the way. So,
right.
The Colonels always pose a threat, and like you said, Travis, they beat them at two of the last 2 years in a row down there in Biloxi. But Crabtree announced going tonight. Would think it would be, you would kind of hopefully ride him as long as possible, Travis?
Yeah, I think that's the play. Hopefully he can get us, into the fourth or fifth in a perfect world, and then I think we'll have enough pieces where we can kind of piece together those last 4 or 5. Even a couple guys yesterday can probably bounce back that threw a few amount of pitches. So I think we're in a good spot.
So it shouldn't expect to see a one-inning approach like last night, correct?
No, I wouldn't think that's the case.
Isn't that difficult on a team though when you pitch like you did last night, because your batting lineup is never able to settle in against one pitcher? So isn't there some advantage to that, Coach?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, especially facing like if someone's trying to run out a midweek starter to get 5 innings. Usually by that second time through the lineup, you feel pretty good about that bat you're about to have. So, I thought Mississippi State handled their bullpen last night really well too. Where after that first guy, nobody saw the same pitcher twice. And obviously they run out good stuff. But yeah, and it helps when you're deep because we're running out 9 guys, but we're running out 9 pretty good ones, which obviously is a plus.
Yeah. Is this the deepest? And I do realize it's early in the year, but is this the deepest bullpen we've seen, Travis?
I think time will tell. There's definitely capabilities of that. A lot of the guys are young and growing up quick. It's definitely the deepest one we've had, since 22. There's no doubt about that from a depth standpoint. But, yeah, we really like where we're at. These guys got to keep growing, getting out there in big moments, these freshmen, and just performing is awesome. And just getting their feet wet. And, hopefully when conference play comes, they can throw some real meaningful innings on the weekend as well.
Yeah, offensively, one thing I've really seen with this team to this point of the year is how effective they are with 2 strikes when they're at the plate and with 2 outs. I mean, you guys get a lot of hits with 2 strikes and 2 outs, and that's not a coincidence, correct? You've worked to that end.
Yeah, 100%. It's a big factor of how we go about our practice, how we go about our days. And you're right. In Louisiana Tech, we scored 25 runs, and a lot of them with 2 outs. I know 5 in 1 inning with 2 outs on Saturday, and it helps whenever guys come to the yard, right? I mean, you get a couple guys on and a 3-run homer like Dre did last night. 1 through 9, we feel like we're big guys who can hit the ball over the wall. So never out of the fight. Innings never over. And, just stringing together good at bats. And I thought last night against a really, really good staff, I was proud of the guys.
Travis, I mean, what can you tell us about Tucker Stockman and, the ability that he has to move the baseball at certain points for you guys? Obviously not, struggled a little bit last night, but, he's still such a valuable piece for y'all down in that lineup.
Oh, 100%. He's a threat down there. He can do it all. He can get bunts down, he can hit and run, he can hit homers. And to be honest with you, I think, and Tucker will tell you this too, he's not quite going like he can go.
Right.
So that's comforting to know there's more in the tank. But yeah, when he's down there in your 7-8 hole, that's deep. So he's a huge piece of it. But, I think 1 through 9, right now it's just all kind of gelling together, and I really like our at-bats.
And I feel like once Stelly starts getting some hits, he's going to be a really big piece for y'all. He shows the flash, and just sometimes the ball bounces. It doesn't bounce his way, but he's still, hitting the ball hard.
Yeah, it's in there for sure. And then he got the bloop single last night.
Yep.
So maybe that'll get him going. Sometimes that's all you need is to see one find a hole. But you're right. I mean, he'll show flashes, and coming off his surgery,
right.
Slowly getting the bat speed is getting better and better. So I definitely think down the stretch, he can be a significant factor in this lineup. It's definitely in the tank.
I've never met a coach that's ever 100% satisfied with how their team is doing. Offensively, are there still areas that you want to see your guys improve, Travis? And if so, what are they?
Yeah, I think the main thing for us, and we talked about it this weekend, is the guys with the riding fastballs, the guys, and again, not to nerd out or on analytics, but the guys that could really do the induced vertical break. And it's the high fastball that the hitters look like, it's going to be a strike. We're still kind of probably swinging at too many of those. And we're really good at that in the fall or even in the early spring. And if anything, it's probably that, which, obviously we're going to be working on these next couple of days.
And I think I remembered you said this last week, and I saw it, I think, again last night. There's really never going to be a day that Oz just takes a big, deep breath and says, man, we are really, really good, is there? No.
No, it's never going to happen, I assure you.
No, he didn't really appear real thrilled last night. I mean, I know he was very happy with the way his team played, but he remains pretty stoic. And I gather we can expect that all through the year, right?
Yes, sir, 100%. I think you can expect that with the team as well. We got a good old batch of leaders. They're not going to get too high after a win, not too low after a loss. We're not going to go undefeated the rest of the year.
Well, I'm not so sure about. I'm not so sure.
Stay in the middle of the fight.
I'm not so sure about that. You're on pace now to go 44-4, Travis. So I'll just throw that out there.
Oz is still thinking about the 4 walks that his freshman gave up against Mississippi State last night. You know, he went to bed just crying about those.
How about Armistead coming in
Yes,
back-to-back
that was
games,
such a big game moment.
runners at third, nobody out, and getting out of it, man. He's been huge.
And man, Littleton, he has potential, Travis, to be like just tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, it's real stuff. I think he tested 96.7
Yes.
last night. He's a big dude. It's a really good slider. It's in there. It's in the tank, and if he keeps progressing and growing, you know, the sky is the limit for him.
That state batter thought that ball was going to hit him, and then it landed in the middle of the
zone. That was
zone.
hilarious. And when it hit the catcher's mitt, he just shook his head like, "Yep, that's went right back across the plate, didn't it?"
And that guy's going to be a top 10 pick, by the way.
I agree.
He did that too, so.
Well, and I know you know this. No one knows this new coach at Mississippi State, but his post-game comments I thought were very classy, and he complimented the greatness of the stadium and the greatness of the team, the Southern Miss team. And I'm sure you agree with us. We're all really happy that that there's been a home and home worked out with Mississippi State.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And, yeah, Coach O'Connor, obviously a ton of respect for him. I've never met him until last night, but seems like a very down-to-earth, you know, humble guy, and it was very complimentary. So, yeah, a home and home with them is something that needs to keep happening, and I think it will.
All right. Great fun last night. We really appreciate chatting with you every Wednesday, and look forward to seeing you at the Pete tonight, Coach.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Coach Travis Creel. He sounds pretty happy today.
Yeah. No, it was obviously just a tremendous win and a great atmosphere last night. And you know, when you look at the numbers for Southern Miss, I mean, they really didn't even play their best game. You know, only 7 hits. They were 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position. So it's, you know, 7 runs, you know, 2 of those were kind of, you know, bloop singles and stuff. So, you know, you're kind of like you didn't even play your best game, and you still beat the number 4 team in the country. And that just is so encouraging. And that's what I was trying to tell, you know, get at there where, you know, Russo's kind of struggling right now. Stockman, you haven't seen what he can do. Stelly hasn't done what he's been able to do. If all 3 of those guys come along, I mean, I just don't know how you beat this team.
And 11-1 playing the toughest schedule in the country to this point of the year.
It's incredible.
I think they deserve a little bit of a break this weekend, don't you?
Yeah, and obviously Oz wouldn't call it a break. He thinks that these guys tonight are just as good as Mississippi State.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll be right back.
Southern Miss to the top.
Hey, DBAT sponsors the third segment of the SuperTalk Eagle Hour every day. They're on Hardy Street. You know where they are. Great state-of-the-art facility down there for baseball, softball, and all sorts of adult training for athletics. Check them out, DBAT. Fortunate to have such a great facility here in town. Forest Healthcare, and we want to remind you that the CEO of Forest Health is joining us Friday on the show, and Jeff Cook was a great Southern Miss baseball player, so we look forward to getting his take on this exciting start to the 2026 season. Forest Health reminds you that it is fun keeping up with your team, but you're the most important player, so you be sure you get an annual physical. Make sure your health is as good as it can be, and Forest Health can help you with expert medical care closer to home. ForestHealth.org. Don't forget about the SuperTalk Eagle Hour podcast. You can hear it every day on Apple, Audible, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, or YouTube, or YouTube, and Alexa or Siri will play the SuperTalk Eagle Hour for you. Got to get back to baseball for just a minute. One kid that's been a new addition. And before we run this piece from him after the game last night, kind of laid the groundwork a little bit, Dima, for Camden Clark and what a pedigree he brought and how effective he has really been so far.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he came in and some wondered if he was going to be the closer type role that Colby was last season, which it ended up being. That's exactly what he was going to do, is come in and in the 8th or 9th inning and kind of shut things down for the Southern Miss so far, and he's been able to do that, with the way he's pitching and that fastball, and if he can work in that slider that he showed last night, I mean, he's going to be a real tough out for opposing batters. No earned runs yet for him so far this season.
Closed out the game last night. Here's what he said afterwards.
Watching your songs playing, you got everybody up there standing up cheering behind you. You feel like you can beat anybody at the time. I mean, knowing I was going against the heart of their order, I mean, that's something I'll have to do deeper in the season if we get to where we want to get to. So it was just fun to go ahead and experience that a little bit.
You guys played a really difficult schedule. Where did this team you play tonight stack up with the other teams you've looked at?
I mean, they're definitely probably the best one we played so far. We played a lot of talented teams so far, UC Santa Barbara, Alabama, all of them. But I mean, they're ranked up there for a reason. They're gonna come out and compete against you every time they play you. They didn't give up that game, so we had to keep fighting. It just shows who they are.
What was that final pitch you threw? Is that the slider, cutter?
It's I kind of throw like a cutter, but it's more of a slider. Something me and Coach Leje have been talking about. Just started throwing it. So
11 straight wins now. I mean, what do you think is working for this team right now?
I mean, we're firing on all cylinders. I mean, we're hitting it. We're hitting really good pitching like tonight. We have arms stepping up in the bullpen. We had our guys going 7, 8, 9 from the bullpen. Everybody's on point right now. So I think really all of it's clicking right now, especially the freshmen that have to show up and kind of earn their spot. They're doing what they need to do.
And your play, you've all gotten off to a great start. How do you feel about the way you're performing?
It's awesome. I mean, it's something I could sit here and talk about all day, but in reality, I got to keep doing what I'm doing. I can't really get too high or too low, but it's a great feeling what I've done so far.
Camden Clark closed it out again last night. Like you said, he hadn't given up a run, has he?
No. And an earned run yet. And he came in there facing the heart of Mississippi State's order. It was exactly what you wanted to see. It was Camden Clark versus Ace Reese, Stallman, and all the players that Mississippi State has in that heart of the order. And he went fly out to deep right field and then pop out to third base, and then obviously the strikeout, or then he gave up a walk, but then the strikeout.
Mm-hmm.
So actually the tying run got to first base for the Bulldogs. But man, I mean, it's just another pitcher that they throw in there, and he's lights out. And like we were asking Travis, I mean, when you have that many arms, you have the ability. For example, like Sam Mitchell last night, he gave up a walk, and then the double that put runners at the corners with no outs for the Bulldogs. Last year, Sam Mitchell probably stays in, right? Like they didn't have the luxury of. But you know what Oz said? He said, no, he went out there, he went and got him, he put in J.W. Armistead, strikeout, pop out, and no runs. So it's just that ability of even if, and Sam Mitchell's still a great pitcher, it wasn't anything against him. Right. Some people just barrel up your baseball sometimes.
I thought that was a real important moment in the ball
game. It was, but my point is, in saying that is, they have so much talent in the bullpen that even if one guy has 2 bad pitches, they have the luxury of going out there and putting someone else in. I don't think anybody in the country has that ability. That that you can pull someone out and put someone in who inherits runners at the corners with no outs against the number 4 with being the number 4 team in the country, and he just comes in and strike out, pop out. Yeah. Like it was nothing.
How many times this year, Dima, have you seen that very scenario where the opposition gets a couple guys on base with no outs or 1 out? They bring in a reliever, and they shut them down. They do not score a run.
It's happened several times. And again, that's my point is I don't think we've seen great bullpens in the past where you're deep and you have guys who can throw hard and all these things. But I don't know if you've had this many high-leverage situations where you bring in a guy and he just doesn't give up anything. Because normally you're thinking, okay, sack, fly here, that's 1 out, and then get a strikeout, maybe a double play, or giving up a run, right? But no, it's strikeout, pop out, and like it was nothing. And so, and of course, that was J.W. Armistead. So it's an embarrassment of riches. And now you have a starter-like figure on your second midweek of the game, of the week, in Thomas Crabtree, who, like Travis Creel said, they're going to ride him as long as he can go tonight.
Pitch for Tennessee.
Right. So, it's an impressive bullpen, and you would hope that everybody can stay healthy, and you would think that these freshman arms are only going to get better as the season goes along.
I want to ask you about the Parker kid from down in Purvis. Obviously, his brother is a first-round draft choice, and this kid elects to go to state. And they started him last night. He did not have a good night. He was not productive at all. Maybe a lot of pressure to put a freshman under, to be in your hometown, basically, in front of that rabid crowd last night against such a good baseball team.
Yeah, no, and Jacob Parker, he has a bright future. He's a really good baseball player. And I think I was talking to some of the Mississippi State writers, and they think that he might be potentially the best bat in the lineup if he can just kind of figure out the collegiate thing. So I think it's actually good for him to be in that environment and feel that. He also started on Sunday against number 1 UCLA for the Bulldogs, so they're putting him in there. And then you also saw the pitcher at the very end, Maddox Miller, coming in for State. He actually earned the loss, which was the 2 strikeout pass balls. But he comes in. He's a freshman from Oak Grove. Who went to Mississippi State. He was pitching at Oak Grove last year. He comes in, high leverage situation in the 7th against Southern Miss in a top 10 matchup. So just like Southern Miss was throwing a lot of freshmen, there was a lot of young arms for State last night as well who got in there, and like you said, Parker as well. So that's kind of what the midweeks are. You're going to have some of these younger players and so on and so forth have to come up big in big moments, and you would argue that Southern Miss's freshmen came up bigger than State's freshmen did.
I know you were on a Mississippi State podcast earlier this week, and one of the hosts said that this would be a bigger game for USM, and that they were, because they were quote unquote playing up.
Yeah,
I understand he was there last night. Did he enjoy watching the Eagles play up?
Well, he's a great guy, number one. I mean, I'm friends with him, and I don't want to be mean to him or anything, but I did disagree with that statement, and it just didn't make sense. I think he's right in almost every other category that Southern Miss plays in sports, but not in this. I mean, last night, you cannot leave that game saying that Southern Miss is playing up. I mean, you just can't. Southern Miss proved last night that they might be one of the best teams in the country, let alone top 10, right? So, and really, you think about, we go back to Bruce Littleton. If he gets that strikeout there, that was, by the way, on TrackMan, 100% a strikeout on a 3-2 pitch before, and they gave the kid, it was like almost down the middle and on TrackMan, a little bit to the right of the plate, but it was definitely in the zone. If they don't get that, Southern Miss, I mean, we're talking about maybe we're talking about a 5-0 lead into the 7th, because that gave State 3 runs there.
Well, my final thought about the game last night, I want to get your input on this. It's just I sat there watching it, and it just made me proud, the level of college baseball that we have witnessed in the state of Mississippi. It was on display again last night. And, Dima, I dare say there are very few parts of America that you could go to on a Tuesday night and see that kind of baseball game in that kind of atmosphere. Maybe on one hand you could count them.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, I think Oregon State was playing Oregon last night in Eugene or Corvallis or wherever they were playing. And there was like some highlight videos on Twitter. And, it was a nice crowd, but it wasn't anything like what we saw, last night. And that's an in-state rivalry between Oregon State and Oregon. But, that was just unbelievable. I mean, if you're reading Twitter, you're seeing all these national people saying, "Oh wow, what a pitch!" Or well, everybody was watching that game last night because of how the stakes and everything like that. So, it was great. It was great for the state, and again, it really doesn't matter to either team. Like, State isn't going to be hurt by losing that game, and Southern Miss, if they would have lost, it wouldn't have hurt their resume. But
I had someone tell me last night that witnessing on television was very impressive. That the Pete looked really, really loud and impressive last night.
Witnessing it in person was pretty awesome too.
It was pretty incredible. All right, basketball. Both teams on the road, and
we'll update the bracket.
Yeah, we'll talk a little basketball when we come back.
Big news from Robinson Electric Supply in Laurel. We've moved. You'll now find us directly behind our old building, right by Sawmill Animal Hospital. We're still your trusted electrical distributor, carrying everything from conduit to tape. And don't forget our full line of Milwaukee tools. Whether you're a contractor or a DIY pro, stop by the new Robinson Electric Supply at 1222 West 6th Street and see what's lighting up Laurel. Robinson Electric Supply. New location, same trusted service.
You're tuned in to the Eagle Hour. The Eagle Hour. Southern Miss to the top.
Hey, I want to welcome Jewel Masters to the SuperTalk Eagle Hour. They sponsor the fourth segment of our show these days, Marty and Cindy Vick. Look, if you've got gold, you got coins, you got silver, you want to get top dollar, a quick appraisal, you want it to be confidential, easy, and you know you're going to walk away the same day with your money with the best price you're going to get on gold or silver and good jewelry anywhere in the Pine Belt. Jewel Masters. They're right across the street from Academy Sports on Highway 98 West, and we welcome them, of course, to the SuperTalk Eagle Hour family. And want to say hello to our good buddies at MCS Home Center. Saw Hank Lott last night. He's out there cheering for the Golden Eagles. Home repair, home remodeling, home construction. You know, MCS Home Center, they got it all. They're located on Highway 98 West. They're local folks eager to help you. 7329 Highway 98 West to be precise. Finally, want to say thanks and hello to our good friends at Genesis of Hattiesburg, the official auto dealer of the SuperTalk Eagle Hour. Their showroom is on Highway 98 West in Hattiesburg. And Mo Bay Beignet Company down in Midtown, where you can go get some delicious beignets, hot, cold coffees, cold drinks, always cooked to order when you arrive, and it's always delicious. Mo Bay Beignet, 2902 Hardy Street. All right, Jay Ladner's going to be joining us tomorrow as the men and women are both down in Pensacola getting ready for the Sun Belt basketball tournament. Let's look at that bracket, Demon.
Yeah, so Southern Miss men's basketball is the 8th seed in the Sun Belt tournament, so they're going to go off tomorrow at 5. They will play the winner of James Madison and Louisiana, who go off at 5 p.m. today. So the winner of that game will play Southern Miss. Southern Miss has beaten both those squads. So they beat Louisiana twice, and they beat James Madison once. James Madison, arguably right now, the hottest team in the Sun Belt. Since that loss to Southern Miss, then they went and lost to Louisiana. So since those two losses, they have rattled off 7 wins in a row until the regular season finale against Coastal, where they lost by 1 point. So arguably with the hottest team in the Sun Belt, but Southern Miss has shown that they can beat them. But if you're a Southern Miss fan, I think you're rooting on Louisiana to win that game today because you handled them pretty well both times you played them. So that's the scenario. And then if Southern Miss wins tomorrow, they play Friday, and they would play Texas State at 5 p.m. on Friday night to try to get themselves into the quarterfinal game, which would be on Saturday.
Well, I think you got to remember this. I think the men have shown down the stretch they beat 2 of the very best teams in the league.
Yep.
So they go in and play their game. I think they can win some games out there, dude.
I agree. I do agree. All right, so the women are the 7 seed. They're going to go off tomorrow at 2. So right after you listen to the show, you can go and watch women's basketball tomorrow. They're going to play the winner of ULM and Louisiana, which they just beat ULM, by the way, on Friday night to clinch or to end the regular season. And then they've beaten Louisiana both times they played them. They've actually beat them pretty handily both times they played them. So you like your chances there as a women's basketball team. Again, you would kind of root for Louisiana to win that game. Now, Louisiana is probably one of the more weaker teams in the league, but they did beat Georgia State in the opening round. So they did get a win. So it's a chance you could play them, which if they do get to play them, they just beat them by 25 last week. So you would like to play them. If Southern Miss were to win that game tomorrow afternoon, then they would play Friday against Old Dominion, who Old Dominion is one of their only conference road wins. So you have a chance to beat Old Dominion, and then you would get into the quarterfinals against, and your road would get a lot tougher. You'd have to play Arkansas State on Saturday if you were to make it that far. But like I documented late last week, you kind of like the bracket set up for both men's and women's teams. If you had to draw it out, this is the teams you'd rather play, I think.
Yeah, I think they both have a chance to win some games.
I agree. I do.
Now,
agree.
if we could only move the baseball tournament to Pensacola. But you really love Montgomery, don't you? You really enjoy Montgomery.
I do not. The only thing with Pensacola is, since there's not a school there that's in the league, if you're paying taxes to Florida, it's not really benefiting.
How about Biloxi?
Biloxi would be fine with me. I also thought about Atlanta. I think Atlanta would be kind of cool. It's kind of a little bit more privy to the East teams, of course, but I think Atlanta would be interesting because maybe you could find
at the Georgia State Park. Is that what you're saying?
I was going to say you could maybe find a weekend where, or schedule it with the Braves and maybe when they're not in town and then play in that park, which would be cool. But that's probably me just dreaming. But yeah, I mean, I guess Montgomery is what it is until the problem is that they just don't have people that come to the baseball games. Right. So you got to find somewhere where people at least enjoy going.
Yeah, I've always heard that some coaches don't want the games in Biloxi because they think it's an advantage for Southern Miss, but I would point out that Troy is like 50 miles from Montgomery. They don't bring anybody. Southern Miss has more people in Montgomery than Troy does every year, so I don't really think that should be a factor. And I got to tell you, when Conference USA used to play their tournament in Biloxi, it was just the perfect venue. It was perfect.
Yeah, no, it's a great venue, and like I said, it's a lot easier to sell Biloxi to like fans because you can go and sit on the beach or go to the various bars and stuff on the beach.
Right.
Montgomery, like you kind of go to the game and then kind of go back to the hotel. There's not really much to do, right? And so
especially at night.
Yeah,
you go back to the hotel.
I don't go out at night.
No. All right, Nicholls State tonight. Give me an observation. Give me a pick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not picking against Southern Miss anytime soon. This team is just different. Now, you could make an argument that there's going to be some kind of hangover, which I think there will be. You'll probably start off slow first few innings, but I don't. What are you going to do? I mean, this is too good of a team.
Absolutely. So we'll report on the game tomorrow, and also have Jay Ladner to preview the upcoming tournament basketball game for the men, and look forward to all of that. Thanks for listening, everybody. Deem and I back at work tonight. Be reporting on it tomorrow. Southern Miss to the top.
To the sea, fly like an eagle, let my spirit carry me. I want to fly like an eagle till I'm free. I go through the revolution.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.